The spoilers for chapter 26 are officially out now, from Inojin taking part in Koji's scheme to Daemon finally going against the only people who can kill his sister. The chapter smells peak fiction, and the cover this time has been conquered by Momoshiki, even though he's missing in this installment. But we got a major reveal about him too, which hasn't disproved any of my theories thankfully. Well, there were a total of 5 major events, and unlike last chapter, all of them are equally engaging, so I can elaborate them in a chronological order this time. It starts with a sneak peek of Inojin and Himawari. He has bought some honey for her, and shortly after handing it over, he leaves the Uzumaki household. There he encounters Kashin Koji, not in person. Instead, he communicates through the toad that we have already seen in the early chapters. So Koji wastes no time and makes the most infamous ship of the story canon by asking Inojin if he has feelings for Himawari. Inojin hesitates to be honest at first, but the blush on his face makes it clear that he does love her. So Koji takes that as a sign and moves on to the main deal by asking him if he wants to protect her. Inojin, without a second thought, reacts by saying that's obvious, and with Koji receiving this confirmation, he takes him to his secret hideout. Well, this reverse summoning of Inojin to Koji's place explains what was going on in one of the visions that we saw in an earlier chapter. Basically, Koji wanted someone as a source to actively communicate with Shikamaru, maybe because Eida wouldn't do it, based on what unfolds later in the chapter, or simply because the toad technique is pretty much risky. So after Inojin appears at the base, Koji introduces himself by explaining his role as a savior against the Shinju. Boruto is also seated on another chair, and this sequence reminds me of the time when Koji confronted Jigen while sitting opposite to him. Boruto speaks up and assures Inojin that once they are done talking, he will safely take him back to Konoha. Well, all of this seems like a strategy that Koji has came up with, as Inojin was the best person to keep him in touch with Shikamaru to manipulate the odds in their favor. The mind transfer jutsu has proven to be the biggest asset that Koji is utilizing to keep everything according to his script. We are then taken to the Shinju hideout, where surprisingly Jura was crying yet again. At first I thought he may be reminiscing the death of his comrades, but the true reason was kind of unexpected. When Hidari questions him what's going on, Jura replies by saying it was a novel and its intense story, which made his heart move. So Hidari, just as I assumed, tells him that this ain't the first time when he has shown such an emotion, and Jura replies that the previous emotion was from Matsuri and the various emotions that she felt by being in love with Konohamaru, again pointing out that he can feel what his fellow comrades are going through, that too on an intense level. Looking at the type of emotions that Jura is reflecting, I really doubt that he will go down like a massive villain or would even do anything which puts him in the list of evil and wicked characters. But when you compare this to Mamushi, things are pretty different for reasonable causes. So Jura asks Hidari if he is gross to cry over things like love and fiction, but Hidari responds that it's interesting. The Shinju boss affirms that in order to understand love, they will need some more information, and this just shows his introspective tendency to understand the human world. But just then and there, Mamushi interrupts and contradicts his affirmation by telling him that information in his eyes is not that important. He then goes on to explain why exactly his instincts are targeting Eida. Mamushi says that it's more than the desire of devouring her. Instead, it's the need of gaining control. He wants to capture and capitalize on her excellent genetic information. Now, while this could have some inappropriate meanings as well, I believe this assertion of Mamushi confirms that every Shinju is drawn to their target for completely different reasons. For some, it's love. For others, it's respect and admiration. But for him specifically, it's the obsession for Eida due to her excellent genetics. I guess this is a hint to Eida being compatible with Shibai cells and unlocking the broken jutsu, cause otherwise nothing makes her genetic information truly excellent other than utilizing the power of an Otsutsuki god. So it may be more than her captivation ability, and overall how she is an embodiment of Shinjutsu. Well, we will have to wait for the official translations to understand the true motives of Mamushi, so if you don't wanna miss it, make sure to subscribe right now. The chapter moves forward and shows us Shikamaru going to the elder's office. Well, this panel caught me off guard for a second, as I thought it may be Naruto, which took my breath away. But then I gave it a second glance and realized okay, it's Shikamaru. So let's see what's the deal with him. While Kashin Koji uses the mind jutsu of Inojin to talk with him and also informs him that he's using him in their plan so that no one in the village would be able to hear them. He then explains that in the worst case scenario, he could lose his seat of being the Hokage. Shikamaru assures him that it isn't going to be like that, and then he's advised to follow his advice and be careful. The Hokage feels like resigning already, and upon reaching the elder's office, there we meet a new character who greets Shikamaru and he's referred to as Lord Kobu. He seems to be the personal assistant of the feudal lord, and Shikamaru questions him why he's here. The elder lady replies to him that it's about the Sand Village mission that he carried on his own recently. Kobu explains to Shikamaru that Daimyo has asked for his responsibility in such an endeavor, and the matter is about the survival of everyone in the ninja villages, and it's more serious than budget cuts. Well, it reminded me of the time when Shikamaru said to Naruto to not break the door when he was confronting Code and Aida, cause the budget of the village was already in a pretty bad state. Well, it's just an out-of-the-box thought, but if the economy of Konoha is already going downhill, think about the consequences of the future destruction if the village is ever restored from scratch. Well, I guess there will be decades worth of poverty for its people. Just my political opinion. Anyway, the conversation moves forward with the elders bringing up the Shinju threat and how they have endangered the safety of Konoha and the Land of Fire. It gets interesting from here as Shikamaru reveals that every move that he made was based on some information that he obtained from somewhere, and Shinjus are not the type of enemies you could have a deal with. The elders question about the type of information, but I think they are actually asking for its source. This is when Koji intervenes and tells Shikamaru to not reveal anything about the power of prescience, so the Hokage refuses to answer and labels the reason as everyone's safety, cause even the nature of this information is uncertain. He then carries on by saying sometimes we are forced to rely on uncertain elements, and this time his personal intuition gave him the key to make the best decision based on what he knew. Shikamaru takes the responsibility for this plan as well as its consequences, and that's when the wicked old elder tells him that he's interested about the source of this information, and they are pretty sure that it's the rebel Boruto. The elder lady then adds to it by saying she has heard some rumors about Boruto being aware of the signs of the Shinju and the fact that he may be connected with them behind the scenes. The claim is that this information is just a bait to dismantle Konoha from within, and Boruto is doing this to take revenge from the village. We then have Konohamaru interrupt the elder to tell his side of the story that how Boruto had saved him. Shikamaru was about to stop him, but Koji asked him to not do it since it would divert some attention from him for the while being. After hearing all the conversation, Inojin gets a bit scared and wonders how many rules were broken, like by using the mind jutsu for personal matter, that too under the nose of the secret team who are keeping an eye on everything. Koji tells him that they are being hunted, so they have no other choice, and reminds him that now he is involved in all this as well. Boruto begins to speak and talks about the Shinju and how they don't care about their methods of execution, so this isn't a time to worry about rules. He then tells Inojin to always make the right decisions by using your head and not the rules. Inojin reaffirms and tells him that he has fought Jura too, and he has came to this realization that to protect everyone, one needs some determination and strength. It's kinda funny how his statements gets completely ignored, and this is where we get to some more interesting part of the chapter. Koji confronts Boruto about Momoshiki and if he has came to some sort of understanding. He asks him that if he has made a deal with Momoshiki, and Boruto responds that it's his role and he will somehow fulfill it. Koji criticizes his attitude, and Boruto in return tells him that he's literally pissed by his gatekeeping of information. Boruto then questions Koji by asking him how many people were supposed to die in the Sand Village mission, to which he responds that he only guided everything to the Mangekyou awakening of Sarada and was trying to avoid a future where a number of people would die needlessly. He then labels Boruto's criticism as childish, to which he gets a reply that they are wasting their time, so it's better to focus on the main thing. Koji agrees and asks Shikamaru for an update on the situation. The Hokage tells him that Konohamaru has been taken for interrogation and he may be next. Koji then tells him to update him if anything happens, cause he will need to be the Hokage to take forward the next battle effectively. It's then revealed that 1 week from now, Mamushi will enter the village, with Aida being his main target. He then continues to explain his abilities that will either get unveiled in the next chapter or when the battle actually takes place. We are then taken to Konoha, where Sarada and Sumire are seated with Aida, who asks them about their love for Boruto and how they are going to confess it to him. Sarada simply says that the situation is not right to do that, while Sumire answers the question by saying she will confess suddenly and unexpectedly. Aida gets excited at hearing hearing this, and Sumire even thinks that Sarada would do the same, to which Aida again agrees due to their hugging incident. She then seconds the opinion of Sarada that Boruto might not be interested in all this, and his feelings matter the most in this case. Well, what appeared to be a heartwarming conversation didn't take seconds to feel like a trap, as Aida puts forward the big question to both of them again. Are they actually enchanted by her charm? Well, after hearing this, both Sarada and Sumire turn pale, as Aida continued by saying if that was the case, then how are they able to discuss love in front of her when they should be in love with her instead? Sarada looks at Daemon, which reminds her of Shikamaru's warning about how he would kill them if he finds out that they are immune. Daemon moves his foot, and Sarada activates her Mangekyo Sharingan at that moment, but just then and there, he takes a big jump, reaches her back, and grabs her by the neck. He then tells her that she was trying to do something with her proud Mangekyo Sharingan, but if she dies before using it, it's totally useless no matter what it is, and it will have no meaning. Aida looks at this instance with a cold look on her face, as if she's okay with Sarada and Sumire dying, maybe just because they lied. The chapter ends with the text saying tensions running wild, fear racing through. What fate awaits Sarada and Sumire as their secret has been caught? Well, this is what I would call the perfect utilization of side characters. It wasn't boring, it had no skip-worthy moments, and everything compounded to the bigger picture. Judging by the final panel, something big is certainly on the way for the next chapter, considering how Mamushi would arrive a week from now in the manga's timeline, and this conversation doesn't take place on that day. There is definitely a lot of tension in the room, especially because of Daemon, who's arguably one of the strongest characters, yet he hasn't even shown a small feat into Blue Vortex. Sarada versus Daemon was pretty unexpected but not a surprise, since it has been foreshadowed long ago. The influence of love totally made them both forget that they have to act in front of Aida, and now that they have been caught red-handed, their fate has become a big mystery. On the other hand, Mamushi will also be on his way very soon, and Kashin Koji did not say anything about Daemon harming Sarada, so here is what I think could be the case here. The warning of Shikamaru came from his personal intuition and not the knowledge of the futures. Maybe he was overthinking about the protectiveness of Daemon, cause Sarada and Sumire have no intentions to actually harm Aida, and the cyborgs are more or less Konoha allies at this point, so maybe we should see a heated argument, but it won't escalate to a major death as much as I can see, cause otherwise Koji would have informed this much to Boruto. Well, I will drop a lot more theories from this chapter very soon. Till then, check out these videos right now, and I will see you next time.